Hey Darrell, morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Antonio. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Great. So today is part two of the 4-day work week. So I will ask you, to give us some light on it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to have a refresh. So the 4-day work week is essentially it's a conversation about flexible working, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is um, it's the nexus. The 4-day week is almost the perfect scenario. It's the one that lands the best. It delivers for companies a higher level of well-being
Mm-hmm.
employees, which helps them um, it helps them kind of increase their productivity, um, and also engagement with the company. And so the companies that have done it so far have been kind of collecting the data on this, and yeah, so it's something that's growing, and yeah, it's something I support.
And I saw just the other day, I think it's an article I was reading, and this guy was like, he really, really want companies to implement this 4-day work week because, like, some companies right now who coming out of lockdown, they are they want the workers to go out and work. They're actually saying that you work so much, you stay home so much, so that you now must go out and work there now hard. So yeah, I really had to wonder that what is really going on because the pandemic is still prevalent.
Yeah.
People still being frustrated. It have like children who's still at home. So it's like you can't really juggle the two. So implementing a 4-day work week will be so beneficial to to people, families, to they now having a sense of stress free, activities that they can do because their children now they can't be at home,
Mm,
right through. They want to be mingling with their peers. It's very difficult for like um, parents now to be home right through with the children. They want to be going out. They want that sense of feeling, that stress reliever. So I would tell any company a 4-day work week is something that they should think about. Do not think that your workers have to be working a 5-day work week. Some people even working a 6-day work week. I was talking to a guy yesterday from India, and he was like, he's working from home. I said, well, that is so great. But he told me, he said, although he's working from home, people are actually missing their lunch because they're working sometimes like 12 and 13 hours. So
yeah.
some companies now giving you the opportunity to work from home, but they're taking advantage of the situation. Imagine you working from home, but you missing your lunch because you have to be in front of a computer for 12 to 13 hours. That is ridiculous. And
Yeah.
just yesterday, I had this conversation with this person because I was trying to find out how things going because we just communicate ever so often. And when he told me that, I was like, for real? Yes, I know you're working from home, but oh gosh, these companies, they it's wickedness. I have to say it's wickedness.
Yeah, and the leadership of those companies are never going to to call me, right? I think they're
Mm-hmm.
unlikely to ever get guidance on a 4-day week because you know it it has to be led from the top, I mean, if we were to look at um, if we were to look at how a
Mm-hmm.
company was to introduce a 4-day week, one of the first things that you need to do is look at the culture. You have, the culture of a company is incredibly important because what you're essentially saying with your leadership team is that we're going to redefine what our work week is. We're going to redefine,
Excuse.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
what we expect. from our employees, and also sort of there's like a rebalancing of that relationship a little bit, and so if your culture, the culture of your company, if you don't have experience um, of implementing, like employee focused initiatives, right? Then this, changing to a 4-day week, for instance, will be a little bit more difficult, right? Also, if there's trust issues, if the managers don't trust that the team are going to be able to get the work done,
Mm-hmm.
that that they need them back in the office because actually I need you to be there, or I need you to have, I need you to download this keyboard stroke monitoring software, right? So that I can see that you're getting X, X, and X done, and actually, what, we're going to dial up the reporting as well. Then,
Mm-hmm.
I guess there are other issues, right? So, fundamentally, it's the culture is quite an important part because converting to a 4-day week is a big deal, right? I mean, it's doable. People are doing it, and it's going to, it's only the momentum is only picking up, but the foundation does need to be there. And India is an interesting one actually because India actually have got on board with a 4-day week. They their department of work did authorize, I guess, also and support a 4-day week.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a 48-hour week that's enshrined in law. So they haven't supported the reduction in that. So they've said
Yeah.
that you do 4 days a week, but they have to be 12-hour days. Um,
Okay.
you put commuting on top of that, and damn, I mean, like that's a killer week. Doing
Yeah.
48 hours with maybe 6 to 8 hours of commuting. On that fifth day, you're sleeping.
True, and India population is so big, so sometimes they're working from one place to the next, and it's so far to
Yeah,
commute.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so it's kind of like it's a step in the right direction, but the fifth day is important, because it's about like getting those things done, like if you have to go shopping or if you have to go to the dentist or the doctor, or if you take your kid out of childcare for a bit, like
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be kind of practical. Or if you want to just self-help, right? Like if there's a course that you want to do or read a book or do some travel, so it should be it should be productive, really, or at least restful. I think that the India way, I think you'd just be, you're going to be so tired on that fifth day that it's probably going to be negligible amount of impact.
And I like when you said that the culture of the organization is very imperative
Yeah,
because I vividly recall that a company had called me for work and we having a phone conversation. So the company was like, could you work, like, could you be on 24-hour call? I was like, I could be on 24-hour call, but when the night come and let's say 10 in the night and I'm sleeping, I am not getting off my bed to
yeah,
answer any phone call. So that will be a problem. They said, no, that entails any job. I was
yeah,
like, okay. So they were saying now it was like a operation facilitator for a
yeah,
company. So you have to make sure that the building and all these things intact. So
yeah,
they say now if it is you receive a call 11 o'clock and you take this call and something is wrong with the building or something like that, you now have to get off your bed and go to this location and see what is happening. I was like, these people are for real.
mm,
They so their culture, something wrong with their culture because you can't expect somebody to be sleeping and then when it is day call, you have to get off your bed to go to the building. So when now the morning come now, how now you getting enough rest to be able to fully function in the capacity of the job? It's
yeah,
not making any sense. So they're now trying to use a tactic that you know supposed to be on call 24 hours, but then they have to understand that you just have a body, and the body now it needs to rest. And if the body does not rest, how could you perform? So they're trying to put so much pressure on you, but not realizing that your body will break down. You are only human. So you will never get full productivity. So they will be looking for an individual in that position often. So that position will have a high turnover. And the hurtful part about that position is that it's month to month contract. Who in their right mind right now, who have responsibilities will take a month to month contract. So each month when you get paid, you have to hope and pray that you get a next contract so that you could receive another pay. No,
That's
no, no.
that's
That
terrible, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, and I'm assuming it's not paying $100,000. I mean, it's like I mean, I guess there is a number, right? That could go, that could be attached to
Mhm,
that might seem might make it appealing. But no, I mean that's quite crafty, isn't it?
mhm.
And it's interesting. They seem to have gone the other way in that, like, that they've made the assumption that there will be people that are desperate enough,
Yes,
right,
that
to
is the
kind
thing.
of take the job.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's exploitative, but it's such a short-term view because that person is going to get tired and bored of that job very quickly, and
Hmm.
then they'll look around at someone who treats them more reasonably, and then they'll leave. So, I mean, it would be interesting, like that, say, position that, I guess historically, when I've, been a consultant working, more broadly, like you look at the roles within an organization to see what their component parts are. And that's when you kind of establish, okay, well, this is what we need. This is the resources. This is the resources that we've got. This is what we want to achieve, and then kind of work it out around that to make it more reasonable. Because if they are, if they're churning through three employees a year, maybe, or maybe someone sticks out for 6 months too, then that's going to be costing them a minimum of 30% of the
Hmm.
salary, every time. And some of that cost is a little holistic. It's not just just on the cost that it will look to save, but there's training and morale and la la la. There's lots of other aspects to it. So yeah, they probably need to look at that.
So companies now and individuals looked on to the last part one where we talked about the 4 day work week, and then this time, which is the second one, we're talking about the 4 day work week, and they may be asking the question. So, all right, you are talking about the 4 day work week. So, if it is now, we want to implement that strategy in our company. What can you offer to us? What
Yeah.
services, if it's a workshop. So, you could maybe tell people on the outside, the companies who looking on, what is the strategy going forward that, you can implement in bringing that 4 day work week into their organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even after our last our last chat, a couple of people got in touch with me through LinkedIn just to ask some sort of general questions. It had been something that had been on their minds. There were certain positions within that organization that they were struggling to visualize as being eligible or able to kind of run 4 days. And so one of the things that I've been doing, because this is very early days of
Hmm.
movement, and so there are many types of flexible working. It isn't just about the 4 day week, right? It's about kind of readjusting that relationship, with your employees, in order
Yeah.
to get the best out of them, right? Like this is about productivity, right? This is about making your company stronger, and having that firmer foundation for the future, right? So yeah, so what I have been doing recently is kind of running workshops with companies that are curious about it. So I'd have a sort of a consultation with them first to talk about what it is that they do, the people that they have, what kind of contracts they're on, etc. So that then I have an understanding of of what their organisation looks like,
Yeah.
and potentially the questions and challenges that will come up, and then sort of tailor the workshop and the questioning and the slides around their organisation. Now, what I've been kind of keen to make clear to them is that the workshops need to be small. So it would be 4 to 6 of members of senior management. The reason being is that if too many people join the workshop, then the staff end up finding out that their bosses are looking into a 4-day work week, which can be awkward for them
Hmm.
if it's something that they end up choosing not to go with. But one of the first things that you do at the beginning of this process, once you're on board and you're going to take the step, it is to kind of put a survey out, so that you can kind of find out where people are at, right?
Yeah.
Like how engaged they are, they're absent, how they feel about every aspect of their
Hmm.
job, their employment, so that then it forms a benchmark. So that then at least when once a trial of the 4-day week or flexible working has ended, then you can see the improvements that have been made, and I guess decide to go with it or not. So so the workshops are kept small so that then people don't find out, because if they find out, it can potentially affect the result, the answers that they give in the survey. Because
Yeah.
if you know that your bosses are sort of they might be thinking about a 4-day week, well, all of a sudden you're like, do I want to work here? 10? Yeah. Well, I've just heard that, so it helps keep it civil. But yeah, so the conversations around the workshop are sort of split up into sort of 4 component parts. So it would be about the culture. It's about looking at the processes within the company. It looks at messaging, and then the deployment. And so it's kind of it's 4 hours with a break in the middle. And so it's they're coming. Like I said, there've been a couple of people that got in touch with me after our last one, but that's kind of been seems to be it's the best way that people are wanting to kind of know more. It's a very soft step.
Hmm.
It's not a
Yeah.
commitment, into kind, but it's like, okay, I'm interested to find out what it would look like in my company, and I guess there are so many different ways of doing it. There are so many different variables.
Hmm.
One of the things that I'm able to do is help them sidestep issues, right? Like if you speak to any of the kind of entrepreneurs who have already rolled out the 4-day work week, right? They'll all tell you about the pain points that they had.
Hmm.
And there's always been a little bit of a struggle, and they're always like, you need to kind of push on through those things. So it's about kind of helping people avoid those, really.
Yeah. That is great. And I would say to me, the 4-day work week will be so great for anyone because, you have that time. Imagine you work 4 days for the week and you have 3 days for yourself. You could even take a mini vacation and even have packages that
Yeah.
is 3 days, all inclusive. So you could still go to the family for a mini vacation, return in time to go to work. And when you go to work the Monday morning, you feeling so relaxed, you're feeling so rejuvenated that
Yeah.
you just want to work because you just can't wait, for this 4-day week to finish, to go again, to go some other trip, or, just relax with the family. So some companies have the interpretation that you must make individuals work hard for their money, and
Mm,
that is a bad culture. It have companies that they will tell you, here what, I'm paying you well and I want you to put in that work. You're
yeah.
working 8 hours a day. It's supposed to be 40 hours for the week. But if you have to work extra, you have to put it in. And companies tend to feel that, yes, because we are paying you, and yes, we are paying you well, that you have to put in that work. But sometimes now, what companies have to realize is that everybody have a mind of their own. And some people, some employers know the job better than even the managers or even the owners, because they know they have that passion for that role, whether if it's with marketing or whatever is the position they are in. So sometimes it's to listen to the employees, find out the feedback that what they can give to enhance the job. And if it is that it's something that they can implement, well, so be it. Because some managers tend to turn down some employees, suggestion, and that is not good. It should be a straight line and across the board where anyone can bring in ideas, and it's all about trying to, better the organization. And when you have that kind of idea, that kind of thinking, everybody will feel comfortable. And I just always say a manager is just a title. A manager is supposed to lead, he's supposed to delegate work, and not every manager does it.
That's right. Yeah. If you have to tell someone that you're the manager, then you're probably not.
Hmm.
Now, do you know what? It's really it's an interesting point because about having an opportunity on that that third day to take a longer break. Well, I mean, in the world that we're in at the moment, we've got a lot of people working from home because of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And I know people, and I'm not going to name names, right, who are doing they're doing their jobs, and they could absolutely get their jobs done in 4 days. In fact, they are. And then on that fifth day, or on the afternoons that they need, right, they're kind of almost deceiving their bosses, right, in order to kind of get that time, right? Like they're keeping their mouse going, it makes them look online, and um, or making sure that the app that they need on their phone means that they could kind
Hmm.
of get to Slack or whatever it is, but just not telling their boss like that I'm not at my desk, and because I mean, even though you could reply on Slack, there may not be, you can't get all of the tasks done on your phone. So
Hmm.
so there's this sort of deception going on that I'm going to crack on and get my work done, but I'm also going to slide out as well because I need to go to do something, right? I need to, and so I guess what you've got bosses that also know as well, right? That's happening,
Yeah.
but they're not. I guess what the 4 day work scenario does is it sort of it evens the playing field a little bit, and it means that then it's two adult conversations, because you can say, look, can you get your work done in 4 days? Well, yeah.
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, okay, well, tell me how. And then it's sort of embracing it. And so that then on that fifth day, they've earned that day off, right? Then there is no expectations that they have to, try to kind of like, keep things spinning. Yeah. Invariably, people are available, right? Like, I mean, if there is an urgent business case, and someone needs to get hold of them on the fifth day, then everyone that is doing the 4 day week has an understanding that from time to time, if there's an emergency,
Hmm.
you step up, right? But people are generally happy to do that because the company have allowed them to be adults, right? And to kind of like, okay, look, this is your work, you get it done and you get the day off. And it's like, okay, well, you give for me and I'll give for you, so
Yeah.
you've got my back, I've got yours. And it just enhances the whole relationship. And just it makes companies so much stronger, and you won't lose.
Hmm.
It's as
And it's certain words you have to know to use, and certain words you have to know to take out. Imagine you take out the word boss
hmm,
out of the job, and you call the person your superior by his name or by her name, where you build a family relationship rather than boss. Can I do this? Boss, can I do that? It's like, Kevin, can I do this? Or Ellen, can I do that? When you implement something like that, people tend to feel more relaxed. tend to feel that they can come at you at anything, and that way now you will have people performing better. I find using the word boss, that is something like way back, is ancient times.
Yeah,
We modernize now in the 21st century. Technology is our best friend. Men Gizi, together we stand. Love this. Roberta said this will also show a human side to organizations.
very
And
much.
also, she said, too many times you have bosses enjoying their lives for employees who can't to see. It sends a wrong message to staff. That is so true. So, so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, there does need to be more. I think, from an equality point of view, then yeah, I mean, this does, rebalance things a little bit.
Hmm.
There has to be the desire, right? And so, I mean, I still feel that the desire ultimately will come from a commercial perspective, as all major improvements in working life have. So back in the day, uh, though he wasn't exclusively responsible, Henry Ford, um, he changed his manufacturing from 6 days to five,
Hmm.
um, because he appreciated that his staff were tired, right? Six days was long, and also, yeah, so he appreciated that they were tired. Giving them a weekend was going to make them more rested. It was going to make them happier because they spent more time with their family. They also could go and shop for cars, which I mean, he wasn't a stupid man.
Yeah.
um, and also he retained the talent that he wanted, and he drained talent from the rest of the industry because
Hmm.
all of the people at other auto manufacturers were working 6 days. Well, he was offering the same money for five. No, it's a no-brainer. So then the
Yeah.
rest of the automotive industry had to kind of follow suit, or otherwise they were going to lose all their talent. And I think that there will ultimately there will be a slow march towards that here as well. You've got Unilever who are trialing a 4-day week in New Zealand. And by all accounts, I mean, it's going fantastically well. The CEO
Hmm.
said after about a month of that trial, will never go back to 5 days. You've got, actually, interestingly, just this week, PricewaterhouseCooper, who are an enormous consultancy firm. I think they have 20,000 employees. They've stepped up this week to sort of to say, well, two things. Like, one, that they were going to kind of try to split home life and office, 40/60 ish. But also, they're saying if you get your work done, you can leave early on a Friday. Now, I mean, that's not quite a 4-day week, but
Yeah.
for a company that's leading, you know, I mean, there's such an enormous consultancy firm. That's an enormous step forward.
Hmm.
And they are, they're thought leaders. So that was an incredible, and traditionally that consultancy firm, that, or the consultancy industry, is incredibly busy. There is historically they do very long hours. There is always work, and it's very well paid work, right? So, like,
Hmm.
you kind of, you get it done, and there's a bit of a badge of honor of, like, I did 60 hours last week. Well, I mean, that mindset, that kind of that bravado, right, does seem to be waning a little bit. And actually, spending time with friends and family, or spending time traveling, or spending time improving yourself, is actually better than sort of that story about how hard you worked yourself. Right, I worked myself until I passed out. Well done. you know and so it is interesting. There is a movement, and yeah, for PwC to get on board with this is fantastic.
And you know, coming out of this pandemic, why companies want employees to come back to work when they was doing the work virtually, working from home, the luxury of working from home, being able to take care of the kids, being able to see the kids more often because they at home.
Yeah.
Why going back to time when we're supposed to be going forward? Are companies really thinking? There's a question I will ask companies right now. Are you really thinking
Yeah.
about bringing your workers back on board right now into the work environment, rather than just keeping them working at home and being productive. For the ones who are working from home and they are not productive, I would say bring them to the office. Yes, because
Mm.
you have someone who will take advantage of the situation and they're working from home. And when you catch yourself, you realize that, all right, they was online for an hour, then they miss online for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't know where they're going. They say they had some emergency, whatever the case is, and they can't give, good feedback as to why they was offline. So maybe for those employees who not performing, underperforming, you can cry them back to the office. But the ones who working very well and you've seen a growth in terms of your business from certain individuals working from home, they are able to produce more. Let them get the opportunity to work from
Mm.
home. Do not try to stress anyone. Everybody are human. You maybe as a manager maybe might start at the bottom sometimes, so you know how it was. So why? Because you reach up there, you want now to make people feel a little of themselves. That
Mm.
not making no sense. You want everyone to become the best version of themselves. It's not a rat race, it's not a
Yeah.
competition. So
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure working from home, should necessarily be a reward. I think if, I guess if there are problems with productivity, then you'd do what you'd do in an office, right?
mhm.
You'd speak to the person, right? And you know, that indicator was going to be data based
Yeah.
invariably, right? And so you get to talk about what it is and ask you know what can I do to help, right? Like ideally I need you to be here. How can I help you get there, right? So and it doesn't have to be. I think those conversations are never gonna stop, right? Like
Yeah.
they're old as time themselves, and they will always carry on. But I think that like you said, I mean, like just the things that people are able to get done working from home, right? It's incredibly helpful. Um,
Hmm.
just you have a Zoom, right, and then you can hang your washing out, right? I mean, maybe if you were in an office, you'd go in the kitchen and make a coffee, whatever. I mean,
Hmm.
you could do that at home as well, but like there's an opportunity to do occasional productive things, which just help life. Just go along, make it a little bit easier. So, I mean, I I believe that there is going to be a really big shift in what offices look like. My hope is that companies will push, or certainly allow people to work from home as much as they want to work from home. Um, I appreciate that they need to understand what sort of numbers they're going to have in an office because
Yeah.
they need to either maybe they need to downsize or whatever. But I'd like them to be more collaborative spaces, so that what people talk about a lot is the is that riffing, like that, that the ideas that you get from talking to people, and the feeling that you get from collaborating live is great, right? And I
Hmm.
think I don't like it would be very sad if that never happened again. So for me, I think that where you've got rows of desks, I think I'm going to go very broad. You could probably halve that, right, and then in
Hmm.
the other half create space, right? Put some plants up, right? Make it a bit more colorful, get some nice get round tables so people
Hmm.
can, there's that equality around that. And so maybe booths, like
Yeah.
you need to be very much aware of sound, the noise that people make. I mean, because distractions are another thing that need to be addressed in terms of nailing a 4-day week.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like there are lots of people that there are lots of companies that are helping people look at their environment. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I think there's exciting times ahead.
You know what I think? I think that most leaders, in managerial roles, they need to be sent to training because they want to send the lower staff, the customer service representative, the sales representative to training. But I believe, honestly believe, the managerial staff, they should be sent to training because it starts from the top, come down to the bottom. It never starts from the bottom, come down to the top, come up to the top.
Yeah.
So I find more managerial training supposed to be involved so that way now you get to understand how managers think and even like certain tests, certain psychological tests, because managers have a big part. Everyone is looking up to you. You're supposed to be a leader within the workspace. So if you are not a good leader, and let's say you have something wrong with you psychologically, you know how will you perform and how will you lead a team?
Yeah.
So
I think training is important. Like,
most important,
I think it is.
most important.
I also think that it's good for managers to have um, mentors as well. I think whoever employed them, right, or whoever helped them become a manager in the first place, right? Like they've taken a lead from somewhere. Now, let's you could assume that they have gone through management training or they've gone through have a management degree or whatever, right? But let's assume that, like most managers, they have they've got the job because of the amount of time they've been in the job, right? Like it's
Mhm.
it's 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 merit based, but also it's because they've been there the longest and they've earned it, right? Like
Yeah.
that those are the ones that they need support, right? So there's a lot of people that I've hired over the years as agents or representatives that have then gone on to management roles. And so one of the nice things that I have the opportunity to do from time to time is to talk to them through the problems that they're having. Like, I've got someone who's doing this, or I can't get someone to do that, or someone's doing this. How do I approach it? Right. And so having that conversation, having that opportunity to bounce, you know, difficulties, right?
Mhm.
Managing a team off somebody else before just knee-jerk reacting, right?
Yeah.
While your blood's up, for instance, right? Then that's what you want to avoid. And I think that training is important. I mean, I think it helps on a day-to-day, like it will give you a template and guidance. But having somebody else to bounce things off is important too, because most of the times, in a managerial situation, you don't always have to react immediately, right?
No.
These decisions can be considered, right? You can give them some thought. I'm going to get back to you on that, right? Give me a and I mean, you wouldn't want it to be a week, right? You'd want it to be,
Mhm.
but yeah, having someone that you trust in order to bounce those off, I think is important. But then having the confidence to build that relationship with someone is important as well.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
think you're great, right? Well, then you're never going to ask for help, right? But if you know that you can always get better, and that there are people that have probably been through it before, then yeah, that's incredibly, it's a good virtue to have.
You know what I experienced in my working career is that I posed a question, right, to the managerial staff, and it
Mm.
was a good question. And the senior person was like, talk to your immediate manager about it, and he now will get on to that senior person. And
Right.
I was like, but if right now we are having a virtual um, conversation, and I
Yes.
brought it up, and I'm talking about it right now, and it's
Yes.
something that is important. Why don't we just deal with it as it's done in the atmosphere already? Why now, when I post that to my immediate manager, and he now decide, well, I not going and forward that information to the senior person. Then after it come like, what really going on. So I find that sometimes, our junior staff should be able to bypass the manager and talk to a senior person once is something constructive and can enhance the organization. Do not turn down a staff because they may not be in a senior role and you find that they're not, have the level of authority to talk to. That is nonsense. And that is boils down to the culture of the organization. Because if my input is valuable and it could better everyone, why not deal with it? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's see, what we could do and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, the problem there is the manager is your direct line manager, right? Because I guess if you don't have, if you don't have the confidence in that person, right, or if that person's going to get a bit precious if you've got
mhm,
around them, then that's not an ideal scenario. I guess the ideal scenario is your line manager is somebody that you would speak to regularly, and you
mhm,
can say, "Hey, I've had an idea. If we were to do, this is our problem, and what if we were to do this? This would create a solution." And then they would say, "Antonio, that is a fabulous idea. Look, I'm going to get Bob on the line, and let's the three of us have a chat about it."
yeah,
So then your ideas have been embraced, right? You're being listened to, and not
mhm,
only that, there's an output from it, because they're going to say, okay, well, look, actually, let's have a broader conversation about it. And you know what? It might be that that you know your boss's boss, it will unquestionably, he'll be privy to information that you don't know about the direction of the organization, or whether that fits or not, for his own reasons, right? I mean,
mhm,
and maybe they say, that's a great idea, I love it, we're not in that place at the moment, but let's revisit it in 3 months. at
yeah.
least at least you've been validated, right? At least you've been listened to, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's incredibly important. Yeah.
The only issue is sometimes the information from your immediate manager, it don't necessarily have to pass on to the senior manager, because if it is he find the information is good, sometimes a manager could shut you down. So the thing about it is that not every time, we should be liaising with our immediate manager, because we have some managers, as I was talking about, they're not too right in their head sometimes if what you as a threat. What you as a threat, and also it's like you should be able to bypass a manager and go to senior once it's constructive. It should not be like a chain of command. Not it shouldn't be so right through,
Yeah.
because you have that problem sometimes where managers feel threatened by their subordinates,
Yeah.
and they now don't want to pass on the relevant information, and sometimes you give them a great idea and they go and tell the senior manager, and then they get an applaud for it,
They
while
take credit.
so
Yeah.
these are the things that just happen, because to me managers just have too much power, because a senior person will always listen to the manager rather than the worker. Sometimes the worker is talking and making a lot of sense, have great ideas, and they just been getting turned down because they don't want you to have that information, that input. They will take it and twist it around and make it look like, all right, that was our idea. So all that and all too will affect somebody work performance, and the culture of the organization wouldn't be a good one. So all these
Yeah.
things we have to take in consideration.
And there's people that leave organizations where they have those kind of frustrations with management, and then
Mhm.
they'll leave for a job that pays less.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. For
You
sure.
know, because that kind of frustration, like that kind of childishness or pettiness, right? Who wants that? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that the 4-day week movement is almost, it's a show of maturity. That company gets to wear that badge to say, we trust you. We
Mhm.
have good people here, and we hire well, and we're able to work hard 4 days and take that fifth day off. Like, it 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 should, it's a symbol, like, of of everything that you've just talked about, like, because the way that management approach their people, that approach the job, approach the expectations, it's a mature place, and it just, yeah, and it levels the playing field, in terms of kind of like everyone's an adult.
Yeah. And Roberta said, I'm fortunate now to work for a company that is very concerned with how staff balances their life. We work from home and they realize that this has increased productivity significantly. So they give random days off to staff or even close us down for an entire day to give us time to relax our minds.
Yeah,
That is awesome. That
yeah,
is,
yeah. Do you know? It's clap it in, clap it in.
yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's yeah, that's excellent. I think that's the dream, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's companies are coming around to the concept,
Yeah.
right? And I think that presenteeism is something that has been, is quite a problem, and that's presenteeism is where you have people that are there at work at their desks, but their minds are somewhere else, right? Like,
Hmm.
they're checking their phone, or just doing something else, and procrastinating, whatever. Like, there's that they're lacking the motivation, they're lacking the direction, they're feeling like they're not listened to, or what, so all of those things that kind of all contribute towards presenteeism. Well, I think what this does, and that it eliminates it, that, or it massively reduces it, because you could see from the way that Roberta had written, I think there's an energy there, right? There's a
Hmm.
pride, there's a pride that she wanted to share that with us, right? That the company that she works for appreciates her, right?
Yeah.
They recognize that these have been tough times, but something great's come out of it. Actually, do you know what? You're commuting. You're not commuting to us anymore, which means you're maybe starting a little bit earlier, a little finish, but whatever it is that's enabled her to kind of get more work done. Um,
Hmm.
is they're paying her back, and it's making a difference. It's fantastic. Well done, Roberta. Very happy for you.
Yes, it have great companies out there. Wouldn't like to say that some awesome companies. And when it is, you see some companies, the turnover is very high. Like today, you will see that they have a vacancy on a particular platform, some job platform, and every time the same position or other position being advertised, well, you know to yourself that that is the company that you do not want to work for. It have some companies you do not see the advertising at all. I remember that I went to interview for a company and I was like, I never even saw you all advertise. They said the only reason that we have this position available right now, that the person had died, right? And that is the only reason that this position was vacant. Normally, people be there for years. Sometimes they leave school
Wow.
and they're in that position in that company and they work there for until they retire. So it
Was
have
this
great companies. Hmm?
was that a Supreme Justice of the? Was it a judge? Like, no, normally they have a job for life. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, this company wasn't like they deal with like washroom facilities, upgrading your washroom facilities, whether it be for residential, whether it be for commercial. And they have a presence, I believe, in the US and regionally. So they are doing great. They have many contracts, government contracts to, fix and upgrade the washroom facilities in
Okay.
different hotels and such. So they have the business going very well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think how you look after people, I mean,
Hmm.
I think that's great. I mean, if people, wanted, if they've created a culture,
Hmm.
where where people, have a tenure for life, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I think the culture is something, it takes time, to kind of
Hmm.
to change, and so it's that's something that they would have built over time, with great leadership. I think it takes the vision of whoever's leading that organization to say, okay, well, this is the way that we treat our people, and this is what we expect in in return.
Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous.
So, Darrell, in closing, what would be the last, words that you would like to tell the audience?
I think, I mean, if consider the 4-day work week, right? I mean, if if you're looking to improve, the
Mm-hmm.
productivity, create that stronger, foundation in your company for the future, which, post pandemic, everyone's hoping that everything's going to bounce back, right? Be
Yeah.
stronger than it was before. Looking at retaining the people that you want, that you have, and attracting new talent. Then get in touch. I'd love to do a workshop with you and show you how you can stick that landing.
Great. And I definitely am an advocate for the 4-day work week. And I believe that companies should implement the strategy going forward and see the productivity increase in their organizations.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
So it was great. And next time we will continue. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everyone, for looking in. And those who on the replay who watching, it great was to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.